Hello. Give me just a second, guys. I am getting everything set up properly. Let's see here. All right, there's the story. Don't think you guys need to see the Audacity capture for the recording, so I'm not going to worry about trying to get that on screen too. All right. How's everyone doing today? All right. Give me one second, guys. Hello, Republic. I am currently waiting for my big hellhound to come inside from the potty. She decided she needed to go outside right as I was getting ready to start up stream. So giving her a minute to get back inside. How you doing, Republic? Trying this out with my own story first to see how smoothly it goes. No, that sounds terrible. Uh, I have no idea if that's a reference to something, but God, I hope so. All right. Um, oh, no. No, they're both very clean dogs. All right, let me go see if she's ready to come in, and then we should be able to start into recording. All right, I'm back. She is inside now, so I should be good to go. All right, so um, here's what I'm thinking. This is my first time trying to do a recording on stream. Uh, I have two options, essentially. I can come here, Audacity. Stop hiding from me. There you are. All right, so I kind of had like two options. I can either try to do like one continuous, and like if I make errors, I can just, you know, roll on and then go back and cut out the errors later. Um, which I think would have like a more consistent sound to it, if that makes sense. Um, on the other hand, I could uh, do multiple takes on, like I could do paragraphs at a time, do multiple takes and save each paragraph, and then kind of pick and choose which ones I like better. Pork chops, yes. All right. But I'm gonna give it a few more minutes for any stragglers to come in. I posted across multiple servers, so fingers crossed. Um, you know, get a couple of people to come in. Oh, I didn't post in Connor's server. I need to go do that too. Self promo. There we go. There we go. Yeah, hot dogs day. Hell yeah. Um, actually had smoked sausage for dinner last night. All right. Hopefully, yeah, it looks like you guys are able to see the story well enough. So yeah, we'll give them like one more minute for people to filter in. Um, but yeah, the plan is to read the Bitter Limerence. I think I'm gonna just try to go through straight and even as best I can, and then like if I fumble a line or something, I will pause for a second, let there be like a gap of time, and then continue so that, I can, whenever I'm going back to scrub, I can look for like moments of silence and kind of figure out where I need to chop things out. I will continue to be active with chat too. Like I will read chat and reply between paragraphs, um, which I think Audacity gives me the ability to make a marker. Do I? That's a draw tool, multi-tool, envelope tool. Nope, nope, nope. Guess not. All right, that's fine. I'll figure it out later. Yeah, so I think that's the plan. I think that I'm going to just read straight through, and then if I bumble a line, I will try rereading it. I don't know how long it will take me to get through Bitter Limerence. It is just shy of 26 pages long. Um, yeah, it's 25 and 2/3 pages long, so it's a fairly long story. Um, but I'm going to get through it today, and then I think my plan is to. Well, let's see how long it takes me to get through the story. Because I'm not critiquing, I'm not changing, I'm not editing anything. This is just recording. That's all I'm focused on right now. So we'll see how long it takes to get through this, and I can kind of gauge going forward how long a story should take to record. Um, but ultimately, I need to do my best to get it all in one take. Because like anytime you like change your setup, or anytime like you do multiple sessions, there's always the chance that like your mic's going to sound just a little bit different each day. Um, which is unfortunate that you have to care about things like that. I mean, I don't have a professional sound studio, so I have to be careful with such things. But also, like, the tapping of my dog in the background, because I really would rather not have that stuff picked up in the final audio, because the hope is that once I record all of this, I will be sending it over to Val, and hopefully Val will be able to uh, help me make a YouTube video out of it, and I will probably start posting some story readings from community members in the writers Discord. All right. Well, I guess that's everyone's just going to show up right now. So that being the case, let's go ahead and dive in, shall we, guys? All right, let me. There we go. All right. Cool, cool, cool. Audacity. Test, 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 test. All right. And I still can't hear its output. Unfortunate. That's fine though. I'm not going to be listening back to the recording right now either way. So I'm not really really don't care that much either way on that, I guess. Though this is going to be a little difficult because my mic is off to the left, which normally isn't a problem when I'm streaming, but if I'm doing a good voice recording, my I have a HyperX quad, and it actually does affect the quality if I'm not reading directly into it. So I need to do my best, at the very least, to face the mic as I'm reading, which, hold on. If I, yeah, I won't. Okay, so I'll just have to pull up, yeah, you know what? No, it's fine. I'll be mostly right next to it either way. So whatever quality difference is going to be for, me reading off of a different screen, I guess I'll just have to eat those losses. All right, guys. Let's go ahead and start the recording. The Bitter Limerence. If you think I'm being a bitch, I just saved your life. Chances are, if I've been a bitch to you, I saved your life. I know that's hard to understand, but let me explain to you how this all shook out. It was just another muggy Friday evening in July, and I was once again set up at the Rust and Rail, scoping out my potential prospects while sipping at my first whiskey and Coke of the night. It was far more whiskey than Coke, barely a splash of Coke just for coloring, really, since the bartender, Barry, knew how I really liked them, and he could tell how badly I needed to wash away the numerous annoyances of this week. That didn't feel super smooth, so I think we're actually gonna start from the top. Try that again. Also, am I coming across all right? Are you guys hearing? Yeah, you guys are hearing me. Good. There we go. All right, cool, cool, cool. All right. Also, I just realized something. I can actually go ahead and play some background ambiance. Sure. Because I just realized that the recording software Audacity is not going to pick it up anyways. All right. Ooh, that's a little loud, boys. Oh my goodness. Hello, Spicy. Welcome in. Tongue twisters? Yeah, I probably should, honestly, but well, I'm not a professional, so also I'm not very good at tongue twisters, if I'm being honest, either. Is that loud for you guys? Is that bar ambiance like loud for you guys, or is it just loud on my end? There we go. I'm not playing Apex. I don't need my volume turned up that high, I guess. All right. Seems fine. All right, good, good, good. Actually, let's tip it up just a little bit. There we go. Yeah, I think that's good. Kind of audible. I mean, that's kind of, all I need it to be is just barely audible. Yeah, we can do just a little bit more on it. That's fine. As long as it's not drowning out my voice for you guys. That's the biggest concern. All right, cool. There we go. We are all set, and let's dive back into recording. All right. Excuse me. All right. The Bitter Limerence. If you think I'm being a bitch, I just saved your life. Chances are, if I've been a bitch to you, I saved your life. I know that's hard to understand, but let me explain to you how this all shook out. It was just another muggy Friday evening in July, and I was once again set up at the Rust and Rail, scoping out my potential prospects while sipping at my first whiskey and Coke of the night. It was far more whiskey than Coke, barely a splash of Coke just for coloring, really, since the bartender, Barry, knew how I really liked them, and he could tell how badly I needed to wash away the numerous annoyances of this week's work at the Bailey, where I played hostess. The bite of the cheap whiskey was doing a good job of soothing some of that tension from the back of my mind, but something was off about the Rail that night. See, the Rail's been my dive of choice for over 4 years now, ever since I shifted down to Southside to avoid all the trouble that had been brewing up in the Brookline scene. It's really only a dive bar by the loosest definitions these days. Honestly, it hasn't felt like one since it started making all those best dives in the Berg lists and attracting all those high-end customers. Don't get me wrong, the Rail still wore its old Berg bones proudly. Plenty of real rusted rail signs bolted to the exposed brick walls, 3 old oak pool tables with beer-stained yet emerald bright felt, and yellow-orange hued Edison bulbs that wash everything in the sepia tone that old pool halls used to have back when smoking indoors was allowed. Thankfully, it was lacking that thick, suffocating, nicotine-scented haze that I still remember so vividly from my ill-spent youth learning how to apply proper spin to a cue ball. Of course, the illusion always thins a bit once I think about it all and notice that the chalkboard menu above the bar is filled over 3/4 full with local craft beers that everyone seems to order. Those shitty microbrews cost twice as much as my glasses of whiskey, half the alcohol for twice the price. What a great bargain. But that's the price of being labeled authentic on your Google reviews now, I guess. If I'm being honest with myself, I know my stomping ground is teetering dangerously close to transitioning fully into a hipster's ideal of a bougie bar. God forbid it ever fall so low. If it does, it probably won't meet any of my 3 needs anymore. Cheap by-the-glass whiskey, good ambiance, and a overabundance of easy marks for card hustling and pool sharking. Oh, don't feel bad for the suckers. They had it coming, all right? First off, they should know better. It's their fault for thinking that they can take advantage of a delicate young lady who's sitting by herself and nursing a half glass of whiskey. And secondly, they couldn't catch a card slip done by a half-wit street shuffler. But most importantly, they're all jagoffs and they're having it coming. I promise. You see, I do my very best not to target the struggling factory or warehouse workers that come to the Rail for a few Friday night drinks before trudging back to their overpriced apartments to beat off and crash out for the weekend. Sure, sometimes they won't take no for an answer after a few beer and shots, and I'll have to fleece them just to get the message across. Nah, the locals are a rarity, but I know quite a few sharks who don't even try to differentiate like I do. But that's okay. The Rail draws more out-of-towners than locals anyways. I'm talking capital T tourists. I'm sure you know the type. The young politicians who know nothing about the Three Rivers but are using the Berg as a stepping stone to a run for Congress one day. Retired 40-somethings, hedge fund managers in the throes of their midlife crisis. Getting out of New York while keeping an eye open for new clients. Or, worst of all, the data center investment realtors trying to suck up all the locals' land in hopes of making a quick buck before the AI bubble pops. Not what you'd expect to see in a dive bar on the south side, I imagine, but the place is particularly lousy with them every Friday night. They'll get out of their big corporate meetings or trendy tech conferences and come to this local favorite as if they weren't trying to suck the very life out of my fucking city. They particularly throw, nope, we're going to take a second read, but I mean, we made it through the first 2 pages without any breaks, so that's nice. All right, let's give it a second so I have a silent cue to be able to go back and chop all this out. They practically throw themselves at me, puffing up their chest when they come to invite the overly friendly tomboy to play a few hands of tonk or maybe some rounds of 9-ball. That's what the tourists always do. Try to pick up a girl they think looks just easy enough to put out, put their swagger on thick, and pray she falls for their charms. Hell, maybe flash some cash around if they think she's losing. God damn it. So close on that one. All right, we'll try again. They practically throw themselves at me, puffing up their chests when they come to invite the overly friendly tomboy to play a few hands of tonk or maybe some rounds of 9-ball. That's what the tourists always do. Try to pick up a girl that they think looks just easy enough to put out, put their swagger on thick, and pray she falls for their charms. Hell, maybe flash some cash around if they think she's losing interest. I can't count how many bottles of Gentleman Jack I've put away on tourist tabs. Why, drink cheap? Nope. I can't count how many bottles of Gentleman Jack I've put away on tourist tabs. Why drink cheap well liquor when some dumbass is trying to impress you, right? Oh boy. When they figure out their passes aren't gonna work, though, whew, they're so quick to try and squeeze a few bucks, or maybe a handful of ass if I've been blue-balling them enough, from that stuck-up dyke who's been losing every round of cards, but for some reason is willing to play for actual money now. Sure, she says that she's totally gets it now, but you've crushed her in every hand so far, so why not? They just can't conceive that some girly would ever throw multiple games of tonk to ease them into a false sense of security, right? Or that she could ever beat the boys at a fair game of cards, like I'd ever play a fair game of tonk with some asshole banker looking to get me plastered and then pound me out in the bathroom or something. I just finished settling on my prey. Some young manager type who was still wearing his work brand polo and slacks when some new asshole drifted up beside my stool. Didn't ask if the seat was free, clear his throat, or even cough for attention. No, he just posted up at my elbow and whispered over the bar noise. You're pretty good at that, aren't you? It was like God had personally sent him to keep my week moving in the wrong direction. I took another sip of my whiskey coke and didn't look at him yet. That's what move. Nope. All right, we're gonna take this back again. We're gonna run this part again. This is Aerithus, and I need to make sure I have a good voice for him. He's gonna kind of make or break the story, so we're gonna give that another pass, starting at right there. All right. I just finished settling on my prey, some young manager type who was still wearing his work brand polo and slacks when some new asshole drifted up beside my stool. Didn't ask if the seat was free, clear his throat, or even call for attention. No, he just posted up at my elbow and whispered, God damn it. Ugh. Guys, I am trying my best, I promise. Let's try that again. I just finished settling on my prey. Some young manager type who was still wearing his work branded polo and slacks when some new asshole drifted up beside my stool. Didn't ask if the seat was free, clear his throat, or even call for attention. No, he just posted up at my elbow and whispered over the bar noise, You're pretty good at that, aren't you? It was like God had personally sent him to keep my week moving in the wrong direction. I took another sip of my whiskey coke and didn't look at him yet. That little move worked great on these types. At what exactly? Picking out which men are prone to forget their better judgment. Well, I said, turning to look at him. That was just vague enough to be creepy. I got a little laugh out of him. It was a thin thing, his chuckle, a little too smooth and a little too light on the ears, as if he'd been rehearsing it for a lifetime, multiple lifetimes. Come now, surely you jest. He wasn't a bad-looking guy, quite the opposite actually, which figured. Men rarely have the decency to be ugly whenever there really ought to be, you know? He was tall without being lanky, with shoulders wide enough to make NFL recruiters start drooling into their clipboards. He had that pampered, pretty boy face I'd learned to look out for, smooth, overly expressive, and perpetually pleased with themselves. The kind of face you see behind a podium, talking about regional growth and strategic partnerships and other phrases that mean some poor bastard's rent and water bill are about to skyrocket. He was wearing this pressed white button-up like it had never been worn before. He stepped out this morning. I'm gonna try that one again. That was a rough pause. Let me try that one again. He was wearing this pressed white button-up, like it had never been worn before he stepped out this morning, neatly tucked into the waist of a pair of khaki slacks that were equally as nice. However, most striking was the rust-red tie that still looked immaculate, even while dangling loosely from his collar. Damn thing probably cost more than 3 months of my electric bill. Then there was the watch my eyes couldn't leave. Oh, fuck that beautiful watch. The thing was easily over 80 years old and probably cost 3 times more than a Rolex. Men wore watches like that because they didn't care about the name recognition, and not caring about that meant more about him than an actual Rolex would have. Really, really rich men love when only other rich men know how rich they're being. But something felt off. Not in the usual, this jagoff's gonna try pawing my ass if I let him. No. My stomach did that tight little twist it does right before a cue ball kisses a ball rung and sends the whole rack to shit. I've learned to trust my gut. It saved me from bad bets, bad men, and one particularly ugly knife in Brookline. So I gave him the first no. Anyways, this isn't your night, I offered with a shrug. Go try out one of the blondes down the bar. They're typically down for a good time. Okay, fuck that one up. But let's try that one again. So I gave him the first no. Anyways, this isn't your night. Nope, fuck that up again, guys. I swear I can read, guys. I promise. So I gave him the first no. Anyways, this ain't your night, I offered with a shrug. Go try one of the blondes down the bar. They're typically down for a good time. He smiled like I had blatantly flirted, which didn't surprise me. I only meant to compliment you. And I only meant to tell you to fuck off. Ain't life full of little misunderstandings and missed signs? Oh well. Barry barked a laugh from behind the bar, but it died instantly when the suit turned his head to glare at the man. That was odd too. Barry never got quiet around men I wanted to brush off. He was a large-built boy, and even at 25, he exuded that type of old man strength that you'd expect out of men with gray in their beards. Usually he lived for that shit. He gave me a reason to hover and nope, fuck that up. We'll try that again. That was odd too. Barry never got quiet around men I wanted to brush off. He was a large-built boy, and even at 25, he exuded that type of old man strength that you'd expect out of men with gray in their beards. Usually he lived for that shit. It gave him a reason to hover nearby with a rag in hand and pretend he was watching. Nope, fuck that up. Pretend he wasn't watching. It's not that hard, Augustus. Read the fucking line. All right. Try again. Try again. That was odd too. Barry never got quiet around men I wanted to brush off. He was a large built boy, and even at 25, he exuded that type of old man strength that you'd expect out of men with gray in their beards. Usually he lived for that shit. It gave him a reason to hover nearby with a rag in hand and pretend he wasn't watching. This guy just threw one look at him, and the whole bar felt wrong? Like it was ever so slightly off kilter, as if the room had tilted by a quarter of a degree, and only my years of playing billiards let me even notice. He turned back to me. You are being most unkind, Angie. If I wasn't so preoccupied with the weird tilting feeling, I might have caught how pointedly he had used my name, despite my never having given it to him. No, sweetheart, I'm being, what do you guys call it when you lay off a bunch of folks and make everyone else do their job without a raise? Oh, right, I'm being efficient. Now take the L and walk away. The man blinked rapidly, looking around as if to make sure he was still standing in some cheap dive in Pittsburgh and not a high-end cigar lounge in New York City, which would probably be the only place he would expect to be turned down. Oh, hey guys, give me 1 second. I got a call coming in I gotta take. Sorry about that, guys. Had to answer that. It's my buddy Jake. All right. Where should... Let's start right there. The man blinked rapidly, looking around as if to make sure he would... Nope. Excuse me, guys. Oh. All right. Sorry. We're going to try that again. The man blinked rapidly, looking around as if to make sure he was still standing in some cheap dive bar in Pittsburgh and not a high-end cigar lounge in New York City, which would probably be the only place he would expect to be turned down. Let me buy you a drink. Barry was already reaching for a bottle of Gentleman Jack before the man had finished. Nope. Fuck that up. God, guys, I promise I can read. Why am I struggling so much with this? All right. The man blinked rapidly, looking around as if to make sure he was still standing in some cheap dive bar in Pittsburgh and not a high-end cigar lounge in New York City, which would probably be the only place he would really expect to be turned down. Let me buy you a drink. Barry was already reaching for the bottle of Gentleman Jack before the man had finished his words. I noticed right before his hand grabbed the bottle, snapping twice at him before giving him a warning glare. Don't. Barry froze up, a look of confusion blazing in his eyes before lowering his hand slowly. You want another, or... Not from Romeo here. The suit's eyes seemed almost as confused as Barry, flicking between us like he was following a line or something leaked between me and Barry, taking careful note of how taut it must have been. You keep so many people on strings, don't you? Now, normally some asshole saying something like that to me, I'm gonna have him tossed. But he said it with such a genuine admiration that it made me pull up short. It was as if he could see some part of me that had done everything I could to hide away. And I hated that. Buddy, I said, turning fully on my stool to face him properly. You got one more chance to leave me the hell alone before I go grab Charlie from the front door and he uses your face to sweep the sidewalk out front. Got it? What if I don't want to leave you alone? Then I'd recommend taking off that watch before being thrown out. It'd be a shame to see it busted on the sidewalk. Still smiling, still standing there. The Edison bulbs above the bar let out a low buzz and whine. It was for a split second, but clear as day. Suddenly, I could smell the distinct tang of ozone, overdue summer rain, and overheated metal. Pennies after a storm or something. You should come with me, he said. Rather, given his tone, I should say that he warned? The brazen delivery actually made me laugh out. Where? Away from here. Away from these people. Wow, great pitch. I love how specific it is. Let me just abandon my drink and all my earthly possessions because some weirdo in an ugly-ass rust tie decided to be melodramatic. His smile thinned and his brow furrowed as if he couldn't believe what was happening. No, fucking... there's more to that sentence, Augustus. Finish reading the sentence before you pause. All right, I think we can just pick up on that sentence again. His smile thinned and his brow furrowed, as if he couldn't believe what was happening right in front of his eyes. There we go. There was the crack. You are rude. And yet I'm still not interested. I must be a tough night for you. How? He started. You're still here? I cut him off. You shouldn't. And yet I do. Must be devastating. You don't. Don't. I just said don't. Guys, what the fuck? Oh my god. Okay. All right. So how do I feel about those reads? I think for these like high density conversation points, I'm probably going to do like off stream. I'm going to do multiple line reads and then splice them together in a way that sounds good. Yeah, I'll probably just do these separately offline. All right, guys. Everyone good? All right, let's roll into it. You don't understand who you're talking to. No, I understand exactly who's asking. Oh, wait, no. Oh, that's a fuck up. I need to correct that. That should be, I know exactly who's talking. Okay. No, I understand exactly who's asking. Some spoiled prick who thinks everyone in the city is a prop for him to play pretend with until he can get back to whatever city he hails from. A fucking tourist. At that, a familiar set of expressions flashed over in his face. Wow, okay. Apparently I did not catch these in the edit. Let me take care of that real quick because those are both going to be very distracting. Let's see here, page 7. There we go. Over his face. There we go. No, I understand exactly who you are. There we go. Now that that's corrected in the actual document. All right, let's try that again. No, I understand exactly who I'm talking to. Some spoiled prick who thinks he... Man, this is rough dialogue, boys. I might need to do a whole edit on this. No, I understand exactly who's asking. Some spoiled prick who thinks everyone in this city is a prop for him to play pretend with until he can get back to whatever city he hails from. A fucking tourist. At that, a familiar set of expressions flashed over his face. Embarrassment, indignation, the deeply and horribly wounded vanity of a man who wasn't used to hearing no. If you've ever met a wealthy man being told he couldn't buy something, you know the exact look I'm talking about. I am not a man to be trifled with. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. Then what are you? I asked. One of those data center vultures? You got that roadkill color tie for it. He shifted closer, which caused me to stand up so that my bar stool stood between us, still refusing to back down though. Still, nope. Fuck that up. God, guys, I promise you guys, I know how to read. I promise. I promise. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed that. Then what are you? I asked. One of those data center vultures? You got the roadkill colored tie for it. He shifted closer, which caused me to stand up so that my bar stool stood between us, still refusing to back down. Like most sane people, every alarm in my brain was telling me to cut and run. But years of being in the hustle, God. Guys, this is my story. I should not be struggling this hard to read it. He shifted closer, which caused me to stand up so that my bar stool stood between us, still refusing to back down. Like most sane people, every alarm in my brain was telling me to cut and run. But years of being in the hustling game had left me with a default defense mechanism of being sarcastic and sassy until the target moved off. If you ran, they chased, you know? Last chance, I'm warning you. Nope. That says, I've warned you. Read the words. They're on the screen, Augustus. Last chance, I've warned you. His eyes dropped to my mouth as if he was watching my words lingering between us. Oh, wait, no, that's her line. Okay, I need to put a dialogue tag on that. All right, this is still page 7. All right, good. Yeah, so that should be... There we go. All right. Last chance. I've warned you. I spat. His eyes dropped to my mouth as if he was watching my words lingering between us. Then the bulbs buzzed again. One of the rusted signs on the far wall gave a little creak, like the bolts holding it had loosened all at once. When did the bar get so quiet? Barry said my name from behind the bar. It wasn't his usual playful voice. He sounded all tiny and far away. Ange? I didn't look away from the suit. The man sighed through his nose like I was disappointing him personally. Do you know how many people would beg for what I offer? Buddy, people beg for free samples at Costco. It doesn't make you special. That did it. His mouth moved in a way that I could really only call wrong. It wasn't down into a frown or up into a smirk. It sort of split outwards a half inch or so into a too wide grimace, wider than a human mouth really ought to. The room around him seemed to dim. It wasn't all at once, just near him first, like even the light didn't want to stand too close. Do you know who I was? He asked. Nope. Don't care. Who I am? Still nope. Still don't care. I was sung of beneath blooming orchid trees, painted on temple walls, whispered into marriage beds and lonely rooms, and prayed to be fuck. I can't fuck this up, guys. This is like possibly the most important paragraph in the entire thing. So this needs to be a good take. And this might be one where I do multiple reads offline to get, perfect, because this is such a pivotal paragraph, not just for this story, but for like the Bitterverse in general. This is like the most explicit. I directly talk about what a Pelled Crown or a Waning Remnant is like, I guess. Or well, it's the most I've shown their personality, I guess. So it needs to be done right. I was sung of beneath blooming orchard trees, painted on temple walls, whispered into marriage beds and lonely rooms, and prayed to by girls with bitten lips and boys with blood on their teeth. He actually spat onto the floor at my feet. I was not mocked by the gods then, and I will rot in the deepest bowels of Tartarus before I stand by and allow some mortal to mock me now. I stared at him, slack-jawed. Oh, shit, I didn't realize you're insane. He kept going, voice getting stranger as he did, softer and meaner at the same time. You miserable fucks made me into a joke. Some invalid cherubs on mass-produced cards. Some fucking child with wings on cheap boxes of candy. Jesus, I muttered. I get it. You're into mythology. Why haven't you fucked off yet? Barry, why hasn't he... I threw a look at Barry, who seemed completely oblivious to the tantrum happening right in front of him. When I looked back at the frothing maniac's eyes lit up. Oh, nope. Fuck that up. When I looked back at the frothing maniac's... No, wait. Hold on a second. Oh, that's why. It's... When I looked back at the frothing maniac... It should be his eyes lit up. Boop. So this is how you catch your little mistakes during editing. There we go. All right. When I looked back at the frothing maniac, his eyes lit up. I don't mean that he like cheered up mid-rant or something. No, his eyes were glowing with a sickening rust-colored light, bright and ugly and full of a hunger that was completely alien to me. No, wait, it wasn't glowing. No, this light was so much worse. Like there was rust suspended in a glass orb full of molten salt. I am Erithus, he said, and the name hit. The name. Oh. Man. You guys would think that I've never published a story before. Holy shit. I am Erithus, he said, and the name hit caused my heart to stir. What was I trying to say? Okay, let's say he said, and his name. All right. All right, I think that's okay. I think that'll work. Sorry about that, guys. That is, I was writing in a hurry here, I guess. I was really feeling the groove and totally missed that during the edits. My apologies. I am Erithus, he said, and his name hit deep in my rib cage and caused my heart to stutter. I am the unanswered longing. I am the devouring devotion. I am still that. Oh, damn. God damn it, guys. I promise you I can read. All right, let's try that again. I'm just going to pick up on this line right here, which I mean, I really don't need to, because like I said, I'm going to go back and record all of these lines separately with multiple takes. Even so. I am the unanswered longing. I am the devouring devotion. I am all that remains when love is starved, ridiculed, and left to rub upon the breast of this mundane and mythical alike. Now, maybe there are women out there who hear some shit like that and freeze up in a pretty way. Maybe they gasp or maybe they swoon. I devaulted to the core of my being and said, you know, that's a stupid fucking name. Wrong move. The whole bar went still, frozen in the midst of 1,000 little actions. Time wasn't stopped or anything like that, but every person stood completely still and unmoving in whatever they were doing in the previous moment. Barry's hand hovered frozen mid-reach towards the tap of some ale. At some point, he had turned from us and started serving another customer. A pool player stood with a fully cocked cue, eyes watering as he stared at the ball hanging dead against the railing he was aiming for. Some drunk girl leaned against the prop jukebox, mouth hanging open as she laughed, though no noise escaped her now. Only me and him continued to move. His tie had darkened towards brown, losing the brightness of sun-dried rust for the muted hue. Nope. All right. Man, I did 2 editorial passes on this, and I'm still finding... This is why it's important to read your shit aloud, guys. So that should be sun-dried rust for a muted. There we go. Yeah, reading out loud, guys, goes a long way for helping you find your errors in your manuscript. All right. Let's try that again, shall we? Only me and him continue to move. His tie had darkened towards brown, losing the brightness of sun-dried rust for a muted hue, as if rain dampened. Don't think of it as orange anymore. No, it was that deep red-brown you get down in the seams of sturdy metal, been in decay. Oh, okay. That should be metal that's been allowed to decay for decades. All right. A little rough, guys. I am doing my best. All right. Let's see here. Back to... All right. His tie had darkened towards brown, losing the brightness of sun-dried rust for a muted hue, as if rain dampened. Don't think of it as orange anymore. No, it was that deep red-brown you get down in the seams of sturdy metal that's been allowed to decay for decades. The cuff of his sleeve lifted, and I saw something thin and jagged in his hands, like an arrowhead that had been gnawed at, though I couldn't figure out if it was made of obsidian, steel, or possibly even some kind of chiseled amber. All right. Excuse me. You spend your nights taking what you want from those you deem to be lesser. You turn your false affection into money. He hissed between clenched teeth. You were... Okay. I'll say it. Let me take another read on that. You spend your nights taking what you want from those you deem to be lesser. You turn your false affection into money, he hissed between clenched teeth. You wear your indifference like some brave warrior's armor and think yourself truly untouchable. My mouth had gone dry, and all I could manage to squeak out was a frightened, "Back the fuck up." You enjoy being chosen, he said, stepping closer anyways. Even while you spit on those who choose you. Especially then. No? Yes. He smirked, and God, what a horrid little gesture it was. So have it then. Have all of it. He raised that broken arrow point and touched it, not to my skin, but to something invisible in the air right before my chest. His voice came deep and terrible. Let every kindness toward you corrode into craving, he whispered. Let every fondness turn to rust as it burrows deeper than it ever should. Let every soft thought become devotion sharp enough to kill for and die for. As he spoke, the bones of the earlier smell came back, but it was now chilled and cold. A downed power line in an ice storm, ancient, wet iron pipes, and the smell of frozen dirt. The rusted sign on the wall behind him rattled as if to scream against the brick. I tried to move, to finally flee, but couldn't. I went to call for help, but found a thick taste of pennies in my mouth instead, pulling my shout up short into a rather embarrassing squeak. Then his eyes went almost tender, like he regretted that he had to do this, like I had made him do it or something. That was the worst part. Go forth and be wanted, Erithos said, lips curling into a mirthless grin. Then a single bulb blew out. I woke up in my own bed, with my ancient biker boots still on and one hoop earring missing. There was a taste in my mouth like I had slept sucking on a fistful of pennies. My shirt smelled like whiskey, summer sweat, and something earthy. Damp basement pipe, rusty sink water, I couldn't place it. I checked my phone. It was 8:17 on Monday. My shift was at 9. Ah, fuck me. I debated with myself for a split second about that amount of missing time. Verified that my physical body wasn't harboring any particular traumas. Inside, I couldn't afford to lose my job over a weird weekend. No headache, oddly enough. I'd had blackouts before, both from liquor and from roofies. This didn't feel like either of those. Those blackouts fell... Okay, so that should be... Those blackouts felt kind of rounder blunted, so... Actually, no, feel is correct there, but I still think felt is probably... All right. No. No headache, oddly enough. I'd had blackouts before, both from liquor and from roofies. This didn't feel like either of those. Those blackouts felt kind of rounded or blunted, like a smudged painting or something. This felt much too sharp in all the wrong places, like my memory had been cut around the edges and the middle surgically removed. Even the meeting with the tourist felt like it could have been a dream I had. Oh, okay. That's also fucked up. Even the meeting with the tourist felt like it could have been... That should be could have. Could have been a weird dream. If it didn't feel so keenly real. Okay. I think that flows a little bit better. We're going to try that again. This felt much too sharp in all the wrong places, like my memory had been cut around the edges and the middle surgically removed. Even the meeting with the tourist felt like it could have been a weird dream if it didn't feel so keenly real. I showered fast, cussed at my eyeliner, found one decent sock and one acceptable one, then hauled my ass downtown for the morning front desk shift at the Bailey. Alright guys, how are we doing? We are at 45 minutes on the recording. And I'm not quite halfway through yet. Alright. Yeah. I think I should be able to get done with it today. I'm going to have to do multiple reads on the dialogue later to make it feel better, but that's fine. I'll worry about that later. The hotel lobby looked the same as always. Fake plants, expensive tile, local steel print art on the wall so every consultant from Palo Alto could coo about how authentic we were while complaining that the elevators were too slow. Denise was already behind the desk when I came in. Hard little bob haircut and all the warmth of a laminated policy sheet. You're late. I'm 9 minutes late. You were scheduled at 9. And it's 9:09. I can read a clock, Denise. Normally that would buy me a look sharp enough to peel paint. I don't know. That doesn't feel like a good line. Hold on. Let me tweak that a little bit. No, actually, you know what? I think that is fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. We're going to keep that the way it is. All right. Normally, that would buy me a look sharp enough to peel paint. Instead, she just blinked. Right. Well, get settled. I stared at her. She stared back and then kind of softened. You okay? She asked. You look tired. Now, Denise does not ask if you're okay. At her best, Denise asks if you can stick around until someone can come in to cover your shift. Peachy, I said flatly, waiting for her to drop the act. That's good. She touched my forearm, a light little touch. Go grab some coffee before you clock in. I can cover the desk. I almost laughed in her face. Denise did not cover. Denise delegated downward like it was part of her own personal scripture. But she was already waving me off, so I went and got coffee. Free, too. Marco from the kitchen slid me a breakfast sandwich with it and winked like we've been flirting for years. I should say now that I knew something was off by about 10:30. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, even if pretending might make me look better in the long run. The first guest I helped that morning tipped me a crisp 20 just for printing his boarding passes, which we offered for free. The second asked if he could cover my lunch because I deserved to be taken care of. Then a man in his mid-50s, nice suit, nicer cufflinks, checked in for a renewable infrastructure summit and spent 5 solid minutes asking if I'd ever thought about leaving hospitality because I had too much presence for some front desk. That one almost made me choke. God. That one almost made me chuck, guys. Whatever the fuck that means. All right. That one almost made me choke. I should say... Oh, nope. That says I should also say. That one almost made me choke. I should also say I did not reject the money or the lunch. See, there's this is weird, and then there's rent is due in 10 days. I did turn down the job offer, though. Even if the pay had been decent, I would have spent the whole time grossed out by the guy who gave it to me. Besides, I do have some principles, okay? By lunch, I had one free sandwich, 48 bucks in tips I had really earned, and 3 business cards with job offers scrawled desperately on the back. The last one came from a guy in site acquisition for some server farm venture out of Orange County. He leaned halfway over the desk while Denise was in the back office and said, "If you ever get tired of men over... fuck. The last one came from a guy in site acquisition for server... The last one came from a guy in site acquisition from some server farm venture out of Orange County. He leaned halfway over the desk while Denise was in the back office and said, "If you ever get tired of men underestimating you, call me." I took the card into my pocket and gave him the most mediocre smile I could manage. He looked like he might cry, like an angel had descended from on high to bless him with a lukewarm miracle. That put a little ice in my spine. Then he started talking about buying up acreage outside of the city. Old families resistant to change. Oh, you know how it is. Which is probably why I told him pointedly that I was short on rent this month because of people like him. Without missing a beat, he asked how much I needed. I froze for a second before saying, 300. Listen, if you're going to test a thing, test it. He pulled out 4 bank fresh Benjamins and set them in my palm. Right there in front of Denise, no hesitation. Just the happiest damn smile, like he'd been willing... Right there in front of Denise, no hesitation. Just the happiest damn smile, like he'd been waiting all his... All right, I'm going to rewrite that because it flows so much better. He'd been waiting his whole life. That will flow much better. All right. Right there in front of Denise. No hesitation. Just the happiest damn smile, like he'd been waiting his whole life to hand me money after knowing me for 3 minutes. I shouldn't have accepted it. But I did. That should have been where I stopped. But I didn't. Instead, come Friday night, my bank account was absolutely loaded, and rent was paid early for the first time I can ever remember. I'm going to do a fresh rate on that. That was not great. Instead, come Friday night, my bank account was absolutely loaded, and rent was paid early for the first time I can even remember. So when I headed to the rail that night, I was wearing a brand new outfit, better mascara than I had any right to, and a beautiful pair of genuine leather ankle boots I'd been talking myself out of for months. My God, Ange, look at you. I ordered a straight Gentleman Jack on my own tab for once and did a little turnaround display for Barry to check out my new outfit. He'd been sweet on me since the day he was hired almost 2 years ago. Even though I was nearly a decade older than him. He knew how I liked my drinks, let me hang around after closing sometimes, laughed a bit too hard at some of my shittier jokes. Sure, I'd let him on more than I ever should have, more than someone much shittier than him deserved, honestly. But comped rounds and a safe walk to your car on particularly rough nights are hard to turn away, alright? Like you'd do any better. Sorry, that's not fair. Anyways, after I finished my little display, I sat at my usual stool and instantly I could feel him all over me. No, not his hands. God, no. Barry didn't have even half the testicular fortitude for such a brazen move. No, it was his attention. Let me explain. have you ever stood too close to one of those old radiators in the depths of winter and you could feel the heat on only one side of your face? It was like that, but like thicker, stickier. Anyways, I'd never felt such an intense attention on me, more or less from Barry. I flicked my eyes towards him and caught him openly staring, still only halfway to the bottle of Jack that I was waiting for. You gonna make a girl ask twice? I teased. He blinked and quickly finished making my drink, stopping himself right before splashing some Coke into his glass. Okay, hold on a second. He blinked and quickly finished making my drink, stopping himself right before splashing some Coke into the glass, obviously distracted with his own thoughts. He set the glass in front of me, and instead of pulling his hand back, played his hand onto the bar next to the glass, as if he hoped that he'd feel my fingers brush his when I reached for the glass. I was worried all week, he said. I blinked, unsure of what he meant. Huh? I don't remember you leaving last Friday, and I didn't see you during my Saturday shift. There was something in his face that hadn't been there before, and I couldn't place it. It wasn't that obvious schoolboy crush that always lingered right behind his eyes. I took the glass, careful not to touch his hand, and forced a grin. You should really get a hobby. His mouth twitched at the edge, as if he really wanted to keep the next 4 words to himself. You are my hobby. From anyone else, I would have laughed, called them pathetic, and dodged them for a few weeks. Easy. But this wasn't anyone else. This was Barry, the handsome boy, man, I finally noticed, who could have had girls 10 years my junior with twice my worth if he wanted. I felt an excited little hum under my skin, and yes, I blushed a little. Validation, as gross as it is to admit out loud. I'm gonna reread that. That was rough. I felt an excited little hum under my skin, and yes, I blushed a little. Validation, as gross as it is to admit out loud like that. Warm, mean, useful validation. Yeah, I liked it, okay? Anyways, I don't remember what I said to brush off the obvious flirt, but I do know that the rest of the evening was a fucking gravy train. Tourists were buying me drinks left and right. Hell, before I could even finish leading one guy on, another would be waiting his turn, patient as a saint. They'd lose at tack and smile like the loss itself was a gift I'd blessed them with. At some point, I had to have Barry start putting the drinks against my tab instead of pouring them. Then I tried to push a bit harder to see what I could get away with. Towards the end of the night, half drunk and fully intoxicated. Oh, nope, need to reread that. That's such a... I like this line so much. I can't believe I fucked it up. Towards the end of the night, half drunk and fully intoxicated, I lamented to some old married guy who'd flown in that day for some conference on Monday that I was sick as shit of cheap whiskey. I really laid it on thick, bemoaning how badly I wanted to try some real top shelf stuff. Give me 1 second, guys. All right. Towards the end of the night, half drunk and fully intoxicated, I lamented to some married guy who'd flown in that day for some conference on Monday that I was sick as shit of cheap whiskey. I really laid it on thick, bemoaning how badly I wanted to try some real top shelf stuff. I came in the following afternoon to practice my pull shots a bit before the weekend crowd picked up. The manager clocked me immediately and fetched a red box that read Woodford Reserve Baccarat Baccarat. Baccarat. Try that again. I came in the following afternoon to practice my pull shots a bit before the weekend crowd picked up. The manager clocked me immediately and fetched a red box that read Woodford Reserve Baccarat Edition from the safe under the bar. On the side was a yellow post-it note that read, "For Angie," smiley face, in big, ugly handwriting. I was sure that my eyes were playing tricks on me until I pulled the 2 grand bottle of whiskey from the box and held it up to the lights to look through the amber fluid. The manager said that it had just been haphazardly left at the bar for me the previous night, that she was tempted to take it home when she closed up last night until she saw who it was for. I sat there staring at that squat liquor bottle when it dawned on me that whatever had happened with that rust-tied freak had not been a dream at all. Even so, I popped that fucker open the moment Barry got in and shared a glass with him, the manager, and one of the other local girls that I owed a favor. The 4 of us sat there marveling at our drinks. Well, rather, 3 of us marveled at our drinks while one of them, damn it. Ugh, such an easy line. Why am I fucking it up? The 4 of us sat there marveling at our drinks. Well, rather, 3 of us marveled at our drinks while one marveled at me instead. If I'd spent an hour or so around the other 2, maybe they'd been marveling at me too. I told myself everybody was making their own choices. That men like these would spend 10 times as much trying to get into the pants of some college girl with cheek filler and no rent control. So who the fuck cared if the money came to... God damn it! Ugh. I told myself everybody was making their own choices. That men like these would spend 10 times as much trying to get into the pants of some college girl with cheek filler and no rent control. So who the fuck cared if the money came my way instead? Even so, I tried to convince myself that I'd earned a week of being adored by all these idiots. That was... until Barry loudly declared that he was in love with me. It was real romantic, let me tell you, confessing right there in front of his manager and the afternoon crowd of locals that had spent 2 years endearing himself to. I could see something was wrong in his eyes right before he came out from behind the bar, puffing up his chest as he wiped his hands on his apron. He was obviously building up all the courage his 25 years of relatively easy living could muster. I knew Barry wasn't like me. I knew he came from a good family and was only bartending on the weekends because he wanted to, not because he needed to. That alone was enough to tell me something was wrong. "Barry," I said as he approached, cutting my voice into a warning that he completely ignored. I didn't know what he was about to do, but I could already see that I didn't want it. Not then, not there. Don't. He kept coming. The whole room felt it too. I could tell. The depressed conversations all thinned. Okay. The depressed conversations. That should be dispersed. All right. I was sitting there reading that like, what the hell did what am I talking about here? Let's see here. Sorry, I'm trying to find it in the dispersed. All thinning. There we go. All right, there we go. Had to do a little bit of editing there. All right, sorry about that. The whole room felt it too. I could tell the dispersed conversations all thinning. "Angie," he said, voice shaking, "I need to talk to you, please." His eyes were watering. You're currently doing that, so let's leave it there. A couple of guys at the nearest high top snorted, turning to fully watch the display. Barry didn't even notice them. No, Hange, I mean it, seriously. That made me put my glass of velvety whiskey down. That's when I noticed that he'd not taken a single sip after our initial toast. Now that he was up close, I could see how rough he looked. He didn't look sick per se, but he looked wrung out and thirsty for something that I was afraid I already knew. His eyes were too bright, too focused, despite the bags under his eyes clearly showing that he had not slept all. Blah. Guys, I'm fucking struggling, boys. I'm doing my best, I promise. Let's try again. Now that he was up close, I could see how rough he looked. He didn't look sick per se, but he looked wrung out and thirsty for something that I was afraid I already knew. His eyes were too bright, too focused, despite the bags under his eyes clearly showing that he had not slept last night at all. I could almost swear that the bags under his youthful eyes had a rust-colored hue to them. Please don't do this, Barry Bush, I begged quieter. I only called him Barry Bush when I needed him to stop a handsy customer. He swallowed. I can't do this anymore. My stomach dropped. Then don't. I love you. Our whole section of the bar went dead silent. Oh Christ, I muttered, sighing his slack-jawed boss. He kept going, because of course he did. No, Ange, I do. I really do. I've tried not to make it your problem, but it is my problem, and it's killing me, and I can't think straight when you're here, and I can't think straight when you're gone either. Am I a pimp? Brother, what? Republic, why would you think I'm a pimp? Yeah, I'm gonna redo all of the dialogue with like clean reads offline, so I can do multiple reads. I need to find Barry's voice because I really didn't. I got that shit on. Thanks, bro. I appreciate you. Like I need to find a voice for Barry, and I need to refine Aerithus's voice as well. Make him sound a little bit more menacing, I guess. Anyways. Barry, I tried. I mean it. I know you mean it. That's not. No, you don't. You don't understand. Listen to me, I snapped. Something is wrong. He laughed once, wet-eyed and breathless. Yeah, I'm in love with a pain-in-the-ass pool shark. Seems pretty wrong to me. Someone, somewhere, snickered at that. I let it go, too focused on Barry to care. I'm being serious. Since last Friday, something's been wrong with me. I know you're scared. I ain't scared. I'm telling you this. I made a vague motion over him, trying my best to indicate the confusion. All this, none of it's real. I got a rippling gasp out of the people close enough to hear me. It was an ugly little crowd sound, the kind folks make when they realize they're witnessing somebody else's humiliation, free of charge, no less. Barry's face folded in on itself, the tears that had threatened to fall earlier finally giving way. It is real, he whispered. No, I said, refusing to back down from protecting him from himself. No, it ain't. You had a crush, sure, but that was all. But I'm telling you, something happened and you're all twisted up, and this isn't love, Barry Bush. His eyes went wider at the use of his nickname, like I'd fed the affection deep within him exactly what it needed. With a stern nod, he whispered, I need to show you. Meet me after closing. No, I protested, realizing I'd lost him already. Please, Ange. Out front, after closing. I need to show you something, so you'll understand. I know I should have refused. I know it now, and I knew it then, yet I still said, fine, out front. But we were talking, that's it. He nodded so hard I thought his head might snap off and roll away. I almost laughed at the mental image until he kissed my knuckles in front of God and everybody. For fuck's sake, I thought. But it got the bar buzzing again at least. So I took the chance to split. I went home sick to my stomach, but still came back near closing, as I had promised. I still wonder now, what would happen if I just stayed home? It had gotten all sticky out, one of those humid Pittsburgh summer nights when you can feel the air practically sitting. Fuck. Why I have such a hard time with practically. Why am I struggling so much with that fucking word? All right. It had gotten all sticky out, one of those humid Pittsburgh summer nights when you can feel the air practically sitting on your skin and the whole south side smells like hot brick, fryer grease and river damp and old abandoned metal. Pram? Sorry, Laz, I don't think I understand what you mean by pram, but hello, welcome into chat. All right, I'm gonna give that one another read. It had gotten all sticky out, one of those humid Pittsburgh summer nights when you can feel the air practically sitting on your skin and the whole south side smells like hot brick, fryer grease, river damp, and old abandoned metal. I stood under the rust and rail with my arms crossed, unable to look away from some rust bleeding down from the sign's bolts, doing my best not to think too hard about anything. Inside, chairs scraped, voices drifted, bottles clinked. The typical sounds of the bar closing, but it felt wrong from this side of the wall for some reason. Then I heard, Angie! I looked up, and there was Barry on the roof, 3 stories up with his hands spread out like angel wings. He smiled down at me. God, I swear, he fucking smiled. Now you'll know, he called. And before I could fully understand what was happening, simply stepped off. As he hung in the air, tilting to rush face first towards the brickwork, I heard that freak's words echoing through my mind again. Let every kindness towards you corrode into craving, he'd whispered. Let every fondness turn to rust as it burrows deeper than it ever should, he'd taunted. Let every soft thought become devotion, sharp enough to kill for and die of, he'd warned. He'd warned me. I ain't describing the landing, but I will tell you he wasn't dead right away. His body twitched in ways that a body shouldn't twitch. His mouth opened and closed around words that he didn't have the air for anymore. One eye, moving independently from the other, found me and held it. He looked relieved, like he'd finally done what he needed to do for me to fully understand. I dropped to my knees beside Barry and couldn't touch him. Couldn't figure out where my hand could go without making it worse. Barry, no, Barry Bush, no, fuck, no. Blood sprayed out in... Blood spread out in dark pools under him. In the dim streetlight, it looked brown. By the time someone came out to investigate the noise, I was already fully in shock. Barry was dead before 911 was even called. But on paper, he died when the paramedics arrived. But I knew he was dead the moment I poured him a glass from that whiskey bottle. The moment I showed him any affection at all. I made rules in my head while I was being evaluated at the hospital. I barely dodged being committed, it would seem. No smiles, no compliments, no flirting, no thank yous, no accepting favors, no letting people do little nice things, no nicknames, no babies, no hun, nothing that made folks feel special to me. No being liked. If I had to be a mega bitch, an asshole extraordinaire, then fine. Better that than another. At work, that meant becoming the front desk clerk from hell. Delivery guy says good morning. You need a signature or something? Business guy says he likes my outfit. Too bad, it would look terrible on you. Woman offers me up. Jesus Christ, Augustus, you wrote the story. You know how to read. Woman offers me a muffin because I look. God damn it. Woman offers me a muffin because I look tired. Straight in the trash while maintaining eye contact. Niece hated it, but couldn't bring herself to even scold me. Reading is hard. Face, I agree. I have found some rough patches that I missed during my first 2 editorial passes. So I mean, reading out loud does wonders for finding your mistakes. Denise hated it, but couldn't bring herself to even scold me, more or less fire me. Guests complained. Our online reviews went from warm and magnetic to aggressively unpleasant. Ginger at the front desk needs to be retrained. Which, honestly, fair. But it worked. I shrank, though. Home, work, buying groceries at weird hours, no bar, no pool, no carts, no smiles. Turns out isolation will keep people from loving you. But it'll eat you up from the inside, too. The one person who kept trying anyways was Nia. She worked mornings with me 3 days a week at the Bailey. Sharp mouth, sharp nails, sharp eyes. We'd never done the whole girlfriend brunch thing, but she knew when I was covering a hangover, and I knew when her boyfriend was back on his bullshit. Closest thing I had to a real friendship, I guess. After Barry died, she watched me like a hawk. You look like shit, she said one day in the break room. Thank you, Florence Nightingale. I'm serious. So am I. Eat your yogurt and mind your business. She didn't. God bless her, she didn't. He asked if I wanted to come over after work, and I told her I'd rather deep throat a cue stick. She asked if I was sleeping all right, and I gave her my very best cold shoulder. Each time, I watched the warmth of her face pull back a bit more. It hurt. That was the point. I knew what the alternative was. Then she showed up at my apartment one Sunday morning, frantically pounding on my door. I almost didn't answer. Only reason I did was I thought maybe her boyfriend had finally snapped. You don't pound on a door like that for social calls, after all. I opened it, 2 inches, and there she was. No makeup, Steelers hoodie, grocery bag in one hand with the other balled up in fury. Her steel-toed work boots kicked into the gap immediately. Had no idea what she wore those things for, but didn't really care. You look worse than usual, she spat angrily, then pushed the bag at the door. Move. No. I brought food. Cool. Go home and eat it. No. Move or I'll make a scene. I swear. And there it was. Earnest concern. Not customer service or coworker concern. No, real, honest concern. The curse steered under my skin like a hook getting tugged. I could see it start in her face. Little micro expressions you pick up in the hustling game. Eyes softening, shoulders easing towards me, a slight twitch at the edge of her mouth. So I did what I had to do. I opened the door the rest of the way and said, Jesus Christ, Nia, are you always this pathetic? She froze. Good. Kept going. I mean, really, what is this? You got some rescue fantasy I don't know about? You got bored playing nursemaid to that loser boyfriend of yours, so you came looking for a tougher case? That's not what... No? Looks like missionary work from where I'm standing. She set the groceries bag down slowly. Angie? Don't Angie me like I'm the problem because you can't stand not being needed. Her face changed on me then. Hurt coming in clean and sharp. I nearly stopped. Nearly doesn't count. Maybe it wasn't enough. You know the difference between me and you? I asked. I know when I'm using people. He slapped me hard. Hard enough my ear rang where she had clipped it. Thank Christ. The warmth vanished right out of her expression, replaced by anger so plain and healthy it nearly made me cry on the spot. But I gave a cold, ruthless smile instead. What the fuck is wrong with you? She whispered. Everything, I thought. Nothing for you to fix, so shove off. She looked at me like she had never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe nobody had. Maybe I spent so much time putting on masks for every different room that the only real thing left was this mask. Fuck you, she whispered. No thanks, you're not my type. She left the grocers. She was gonna make me a full spread breakfast, it seemed. Oh well. Once even the people you actually care about learn to leave you alone, the quiet gets real heavy like. It's like the city itself had set a rusted beam on my shoulders and said, hey, carry this over there. Fuck that up. Once even the people you actually care about learn to leave you alone, the quiet gets real heavy like. It's like the city itself had set a rusted beam on my shoulders and said, hey, carry this over there, or everybody you know is going to kill themselves. That's where Atlas came in, I guess. Not the libertarian book club bullshit finance guys are always quoting at the hotel. No, actual punishment part. The old myth, you know, the whole stuck under the sky part. People focus on the shrug idea. Of course they would, but what gets me is the holding. The endless, dumb holding. Knowing if you slacken your grip even once, whatever is above you comes down on everybody else first. That's what these rules felt like. An exhausting, never-ending task. Fuck. I made it so long while... Oh, I need to fix that. Page 20. Oh, we're almost done, boys. Holy shit. I've been burning through the past couple pages. That's what the rules felt like. An exhausting, never-ending task. Fuck, I made it so... I made it such a long while. There we go. Much better. There we go. All right, everybody, how are we feeling? We got like a page and a half left. We're almost done. That's what these rules felt like. An exhausting, never-ending task. Fuck. I made it such a long while. Even after our first miserable sleeting of the year, Denise suspended me. Too many complaints, she said, lips pinched like she had wanted to fire me weeks ago but couldn't, like she was the one in pain over it all. I laughed, because what else was there to do? Walked out downtown to the oppressive cold. Fuck that up. Let's try that again. Oh. Okay. Then after our first miserable sleeting of the year, Denise suspended me. Too many complaints, she said, lips pinched like she had wanted to fire me weeks ago, but couldn't. She was the one in pain over it all. I laughed, because what else was there to do? Walked out downtown into the oppressive cold, working not to slip on the half-frozen rain that had finally cleaned the fall's grimes off the sidewalk. The air was thick with the smell of wet brick, truck exhaust, and the old iron smell the city gets when the weather turns each year. I wandered for hours, through Market Square, over towards the river, back across blocks full of glass towers where men in quarter-zip fleeces were talking into headsets about power draw and land packages and infrastructure corridors. I passed a fenced lot with one. I was doing so well. God damn it. Try again. I wandered for hours, through Market Square, over towards the river, back across blocks. All right. I wandered for hours, through Market Square, over towards the river, back across blocks full of glass towers where men in quarter-zip fleeces were talking into headsets about power draw and land packages and infrastructure corridors. I passed a fenced lot with some big banner on it about future innovation campus development that had lost funding 2 years back. The icy rain had run down from one rusted grommet and stained the whole sign like the promise underneath was still bleeding out, despite being dead for so long. Thought that was funny for some reason. Laughed at the very thought of it. Then thought, try that again. Thought that was funny for some reason. Laughed at the very thought itself. Then thought maybe I was losing it. Maybe I was. By the time I got to Southside, my once new ankle boots were soaked through, and the bruising color of the sky made it feel low enough to settle onto my shoulders. You can only carry things so long before some stupid little piece of you starts asking what happened if you just set it down. Just for a second. Not forever, just long enough to breathe. I found a bar, not the rail. I'd sworn to never go back to the rail again, and even this weight couldn't force me back there. Dark little place, half full, smelled like stale beer and damp work coats. I went in, sat at the far end, and ordered a bourbon. One drink, I told myself. One lousy drink with my mouth shut and my eyes down, and nobody any the wiser. Bartender poured it and moved on. Good. Fine. Manageable. Then the guy 2 stools over noticed my napkin had stuck to the bottom of my glass. That's all. Just that. He slid a salt shaker towards me, as if I had never been to a bar before. Here, he said with a simple smile. He was a local guy. Could tell by the work boots and Carhartt that was colored more black by oil stains than in its original blah, 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 blah. Words are hard. God damn it. He was a local guy. Could tell by the work boots and Carhartt that was colored more black by old oil stains than its original brown. No suit, no badge, no polished little quarryman smile. Just some decent looking Pittsburgh bastard being casually decent because the world hadn't kicked it out of him yet. I looked at the salt shaker like it was a gun. Don't, I said. He blinked. You just put it on the napkin. It'll keep the glass from sticking. I know what the fuck it is. Okay. He pulled it back. Good. Good. I picked up the bourbon and my hand shook enough that the glass chattered against my teeth a little and some of it poured down my chin in a thin line. He noticed that too. Of course he did. Hey, you all right? There it was. Concern. Soft, harmless, human concern. I opened my mouth to bite his head off. Had the words lined up, ugly little things, easy little attacks. Could have called him a creep, told him to mind his own beer, called him a jagoff, and been done with it. But he said, you're supposed to put the liquor into your mouth, else it don't work. Instead, because I was cold and wet and hollow, all the way down to my aching core, I laughed. Tiny sound, a sad echo of a noise, but it was enough. His face lit in that awful warm way, and I could see the hook catch. Saw his whole body lean half an inch nearer without him meaning to. Saw the beginnings of it. That rust taking to gleaming clean metal, quiet and quick. I could still stop it. One sentence, one hard twist. But all I could think about was Barry on the pavement, Nia at my door, the hotel desk, the rules, the sky, the endless dumb weight of keeping myself filthy so nobody else had to bleed for liking me. He said, hey, softer now. You sure you're okay? And I thought, no, I ain't. Haven't been for a while. I took the drink, turned a little towards him, and let the sky start slipping. But a person can only be lonely for so long. All right, guys. Stop the recording really quick. That is an hour and 32 minutes of recording. I have to go and clean up later. But, yeah, that is the Bitter Limerence. It is my most recent short story that I finished. Yeah. There are some issues that I want to work out with it. This ending is, I kind of rushed at the ending. I was getting towards where I was a little tired. So I think I'm gonna revisit these last two pages and work on that a little bit at some point. And I think I want to introduce Nia earlier on. I want to probably introduce Nia whenever she probably whenever she's at work after the Erithus meeting. I feel like the Atlas stuff is probably a little too strong. So I might want to work on that too. So I'll have to think about that. I'll have to think about how I want to handle that, because I think that like the Atlas like symbolism is really important for the message of it all. So I don't want to get rid of it, but I think I need to polish it a bit. But yeah, hour and 32 minutes that I will have to go back and scrub and edit, and then I also need to go through the I think I'm gonna go through and highlight all the dialogue. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do where I go through and I could just pull out all the dialogue, because I need to do multiple clean dialogue reads and takes, and then stitch it all together in a good way before I send it over to Val. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm okay with. I think I'm okay mostly with where it is right now. But like I said, there's a couple of things I really need to. I really need to work on. Let me save this project real quick. Let's put it into. Sorry, I am making a spot to save this recording so I don't close Audacity and lose. There we go. All right, that's saved. So I'll be able to go back and edit that later. All right, guys. Man, reading out loud for that long is kind of exhausting, honestly. So I think I'm gonna call it there for today. Thank you everyone for coming and hanging out with me while you could. I appreciate it. And I am not sure. I might stream tomorrow. I doubt it though. I am probably gonna take a couple days off. I'm trying to get back into the pattern of streaming again. So there is, there's a cadence to it that I have to work on. I think next time I stream though, I think I might do a actual game stream instead of a reading one. But we'll see. We'll see how I feel. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do appreciate it. I'm going to call it there. I'm not going to worry about rating out. I only have one viewer on Twitch, so it's not really going to be any good to rate out. So guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I will see you guys maybe tomorrow, maybe Saturday. We'll see. But until then, as always,